to be kind in coaching, it's when you really feel it, it's like when I slow down and I'm there, and it's all about compassion and seeing the person and tuning in into what is going on there. That for me is being kind. And just having this energy where I say without words, I can feel what is going on with you. And I'm here for you. And whatever it is, it's perfectly fine. And I'm grateful that you're sharing this with me. That's how I feel the kindness.
Your hair looks cool like that. I like that choppy look.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't taken a shower yet.
Just sometimes you overshare.
I know. Sometimes.
Imagine if you could smell also on your.
Oh yeah, no, you don't want to. No. And I eat so much garlic.
Go there.
Oh my God. Sometimes my sister comes home from work and she's like, oh my God, Magda, what is happening? I'm like, here, like scarfing garlic. It's yeah. As my mom would say, this is one of the reasons you're single.
Yeah.
Do I look unhappy? No.
Yeah. Not worried.
Exactly. Hello, people coming in. It's so lovely to see you. You early attenders. Wow, I really can't words today. Hello,
Hi, everyone.
I am only here for a few minutes, and I'll just wait for a few more people to come because I want to share something, because it's our kindness month. Every month should be kindness month, and every month is kindness month, but especially this month, it's been kindness month around Cocharia. And we've been talking a lot about, like, what is kindness? What does it mean to you? How do you feel it? And been trying to share a few, hello, everyone. We've been trying to share, my kind of kind examples of kindnesses that we've experienced. And yesterday, a really cool thing happened. So I'm trying this thing where I don't do emails and whatnots on the weekends. Trying is the operative word, because of course it doesn't work, but I try. Anyway, I'm doing an okay job on the grand scheme of things. And I have not been checking things on Coachnook. And Coachnook, by the way, if you aren't on there yet, please register. Coachnook.com. It's free. It's an online community for coaches, safe space, kind space. Anyway, so I logged into Coachnook and I'm like, oh, I've got all these messages. And I don't know what I did to deserve this. Like, I have no idea what happened. But just randomly, last Thursday and Friday, I received a bunch of messages of just kind words from our community. A few of you that I can see already are in the audience, actually. And they were really, really, like, honestly, it felt like a warm hug. It felt so wonderful. And one of those people talked about their own quirkiness, I think they called it. And they were grateful for my kind of crazy. And they said that it made them feel like their own quirkiness is actually an asset. So I thought I'm going to stop by and first of all, say thank you for all the support, but also, I have not showered yet. Sorry, Cindy, I have to say it again because I look like a mess. I am a mess. And you know what? I don't care because you guys know that I'm here with an open heart and I feel loved and accepted by this community. And I think most people who are in this community, I hope at least that they feel loved and accepted because that's how we want you to feel. We want you to always feel like it's a warm hug and that we're here together to learn and discover and all those great things. And the reason I'm sharing that, because it was awesome. Like, honestly, I'm still, you know who you are in the audience who said that. I can see you're here, but like it made me smile ear to ear, and it's still making me smile ear to ear. We have this program called Beyond Mindfulness, which that's what I thought of, honestly, when I had this wonderful feeling, because when someone gives you a compliment, there's different ways you can take it, right? And I used to be the person who was like, yeah, okay, shut up. Like, it was so hard for me to take compliments. And I've made it a conscious effort in the past few years, especially, to say thank you. And like, you know, add that compliment to my list of things that I'm good at or are good about me. And it's been lovely to have not just, you know, the things to gripe about, but also have this like mental list of, you know what, this is what people appreciate about me. And like, yay, anyway. But how do you get there? You get there through self-awareness. You get there through reflection and thought and all these wonderful things that we get to do as coaches. And because not everybody can go through a full coach training and doesn't want to, and frankly shouldn't, we also do different kinds of programs that are kind of small slices of this wonderful world that all of us here got to go through. And Beyond Mindfulness is one of those. It was designed and is ran by Tracy Brown, who you would have seen on webinars and things. Tracy is really into mindfulness and beyond mindfulness and everything else, so this is definitely her wheelhouse. But it's 6 weeks of kind of group discussion and reflection and working on your self-awareness, self-acceptance, and kind of building towards, you know, all of us together are here in this world. Let's make it a good one. So anyway, it's a wonderful program. I highly recommend it to people who already have done coach training and just want to grow. But we designed it in a way that it is open to anybody. It's working on yourself. So if you have someone in your life who you think might appreciate that kind of warm hug to themselves, please tell them about this program. It's on our website. It starts August 3rd, and there's an option both for the course as well as for CCE. If you are a coach and you need / wanted towards your renewal, you're more than welcome to take that option. So I am going to vanish now with my crazy hair, but I just want to say thank you everyone for being here and for being so supportive always to Coach Arya and to me personally, because like, honestly, this is a huge ego boost for me every time that I you know, come here and talk to myself. So thank you. Cindy, over to you.
Thanks, Magda. And there's so much of kindness in what you said. And as we do the 4th week of kindness for this month, and you know, we got one more webinar of kindness, right? Next week. Yeah? Okay. I hope we all have opened our hearts to kindness, you know, for ourselves, for those around us, even those far away from you. You know, just a warm smile and some warm words can put a virtual hug around them. Magda's going to leave, and we are going to start today's webinar on kindness in coaching. And today's webinar is not formal, meaning there's no slides and presentation formats. Claudia, Vijay, and I are going to engage in a fireside chat with you. So we're going to pretend that we all are sitting together here around the fire and having this heart-to-heart with vulnerability if it shows up in a fireside chat. And while we start the webinar, I'd like to check in with you. What does kindness mean for you? In a few words, what does it mean for you? Kindness in coaching, what does it mean for you? And love to hear your thoughts as you type away into the chat box. Please type to everyone, not just to panelists. choose everyone so we can all see that. Yeah. I want to introduce you to both our guests for today, of my fireside buddies. Claudia is an MCC in application from Slovenia, right, Claudia? I got that right. And Vijay, I don't think you need any introduction to her. Vijay is the president from ICF Chennai chapter. And she has wrote a few articles on kindness already. And of course, you know, we can see all of you on the participant list. So you're very much today a part of this chat. So ladies, thank you. Or to my buddies, thank you for being here in this fireside chat. And please, let's open up this topic. What does kindness in coaching mean for you? Go ahead. Vijay, you want to share?
Sorry, Cindy, I was just reading the chat box and it was just so beautiful. So I went into a soaking in space, right? Soaking in the fire and soaking in all the loveliness that's coming. So let me just shift gears a little bit and talk about what it means to me. You know, I 2 years ago, I think when we were at the peak of COVID, in the middle of the pandemic, etc., when writing, you know, was like literally a luxury, right? The stuff that we would get time, the mind space, the peaceful kind of context, etc., to pen down, that was a luxury. So after a long time, I wanted to write, and the topic I picked was on kindness in coaching. And so it was really nice when, you know, you spoke about this chat. And I was asking myself, has that lens shifted for me now that, you know, we believe we are sort of dealing better with the pandemic and life is moving ahead. So I remember while writing that piece, there was this definition of kindness that, you know, I had written down, and that stays with me quite well, even today, which is, you know, kindness has got 3 parts really. And it says it's a way of being friendly, considerate, and generous. And I'm sure you can guess which one of those 3 would have really resonated with me. We've had conversations on this, Cindy. So I think the part about kindness that really stands out for me is generosity. And we wonder, right? In a professional service, coaching is a profession. And, you know, where there are all these contracts and frameworks and rules and everything, the boundaries, how can a coach show up with generosity? So I'd like to look at kindness in coaching from that lens of generosity. And if I might look at another lens, I think it's about being considerate. So can coaches be considerate and generous without compromising on anything of their integrity, ethics, or profession? So that's the opening thought for me. And my short answer, and I hope we can talk about this in detail, is yes, we can. And so it is quite possible to be kind as a coach, and for the coaching space to offer kindness, you know, in the pandemic, before it, or after.
Absolutely. And, you know, talking about what kindness means to each one of us, of course, it means different things to different people. And it can be expressed in different ways. But the thing that stands out for me is that kindness is quite an intentional act. It's quite intentional when you're kind to somebody. And it also has some kind of a positive ripple effect. You'll see that in the other person, the change to positive. And I love what you said about being generous, friendly, considerate. also warm, affectionate, empathy, and maybe just, concerned about the other person. Claudia, for you?
Okay, so I will come a little bit more close. I hope you don't mind.
No.
So when I think about kindness, how I relate to it is really in coaching, it's compassion for me, and that means it's a state of being, and as you say, yes, it has a purpose. It is purposeful, and so it's a slow process. It's being there, being present in a certain way, with sensitivity, with respect, with compassion. That for me is what is standing out right now when I experience kindness, and when I want to give, when I want to be kind to someone.
So coaches, we're sharing what kindness means to us, and we're listening to reading some of the stuff you are sharing. What else do you think? What else do you think about how does this kindness show up in coaching? Where does it fit in with coaching? Yeah, because there's an element of kindness that people sometimes question. Is it being too nice? Is kindness being too nice? What do you think, Vijay? Is kindness nice?
Yeah, kindness is most definitely nice. And, just today, I was just actually saying, do we use the word nice as an adjective for coaches? I don't hear that often, but I think it's wonderful to be with someone nice. And imagine a partnership that's, built with a genuinely nice person. How beautiful is that? I mean, so it's not being nice for the, sorry, Cindy.
No, you go ahead.
It's not nice for being, the sake of niceness, right? And I think there's a difference. I think the word is authentically. There are people who are genuinely very nice human beings. And I think it would be lovely if my coach could be that to me, or anyone could be that to me.
And Vijay, I was also posing this point of view when I raised that, about being nice. Is it allowing people to take of you that kind of nice?
So
it isn't, right? Yeah, what do you think? Yeah.
Maybe I'll just finish this and we'll hand it back to Claudia to talk about what she was saying. So it's like walking into a room, or walking into a conversation, right? And people just taking that minute to genuinely give you a very nice smile. That's all niceness is. Well, you can choose not to. Life will go on, work will go on, everything will go on. So we take that moment to just pause, acknowledge the other person, and just give that smile. Even in coaching, right? I mean, sometimes we just all so serious about the client goals and everything. We just forget that. So I think that's the kind of niceness I'm referring to. The small things.
Yeah. So it comes with an appreciation. It's received, it's given and received with some kind of appreciation or gratefulness. What do you think, coaches on the call? What do you think? This act of giving and receiving when kindness is involved, how do you think that shows up with a client? Claudia, you back? Yep.
Yes, I'm back. Can you hear me?
It's still a bit soft, but let's talk now. Let's continue. Maybe it'll be louder.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, that was better.
Is it better? Okay, thank you.
Def-
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Claudia.
So my experience is that to be kind in coaching, it's when you really feel it, it's like when I slow down and I'm there, and it's all about compassion and seeing the person and tuning in into what is going on there. That for me is being kind. And just having this energy where I say without words, I can feel what is going on with you. And, I'm here for you. And whatever it is, it's perfectly fine. And I'm grateful that you're sharing this with me. That's how I feel the kindness.
Beautifully said, because although the information being shared sometimes feels cognitive, like it's, thinking mostly, but the actual act of kindness then goes lower and comes from the heart, somewhere inside.
Exactly. It's, the two hearts together. When you can feel that you're touching the other person's heart.
And Claudia, while you talk about that, let's continue that line of thinking, because clients don't forget that moment, or even with each other when we are there for each other in that moment, coach with coach. It's difficult to forget that moment when somebody just was there for you unconditionally. And in that moment, they got you. What do you think, Vijay?
I knew you would. Again, went inward for a moment. I was, I don't know, something about maybe the way Claudia said it or what she said it really sort of, it brought out another dimension of kindness. I think it's just, there's a certain softness around it, right? Softness not equal to weakness. Softness equal to strength with softness. And sometimes being kind is being just able to show that strength, right? And I think just going beyond and maybe sometimes giving people the benefit of doubt. That's the other dimension that struck me. And I want to share an example here. I'm going to be very vulnerable, because I need to. If I don't think I can talk about their sense of what happened. So here was this client, I think, last year, who was sort of working on a couple of goals. And one of them really being the ability to, to show up for commitments, right? Just showing up on time. It was a very big deal for this person, right? So you know that this person is struggling with that and been brave enough to bring it to coaching, to trust another human being, which is me, and bring their full selves, right? For 3 sessions, 2 sessions, this person would come late. The first time, 10 minutes. The second time, 15 minutes. You're not going to believe this, Cindy, if I say this, Claudia. The third was a no-show. See how? That's exactly how it went back, right? So that was me. You know, all of that kind of getting in my way. And I was so quick to judge in that moment, saying, this is it, right? No wonder. I mean, see how the patterns are forming and, you know, everything is, that was the judging mind. The kind mind is to say, and to just acknowledge, right? Here's a human who's struggling with a goal. And it's just a manifestation of that. How would I deal with that then? Without sort of accepting it, right? Because that's what the client wanted to do and change. So we did have a conversation. I did not charge for that session. I did not make that person feel, well, small and guilty. And yet having to give that message in the interest of the client, saying that I get it, right? And shall we talk about what goes on here? So I think kindness is just that shift in frame to not immediately sort of judge people and put them into boxes, and just sort of embracing people with all their lackings and struggles. Just accept that people are not perfect. And it takes a lot. It was not easy for me, because one of the values I hold very dear is abiding commitments and professionalism. And professionalism means just showing up and, you know, honoring that. So going beyond your own value conflicts to just be human. And in that conversation, something magical happened. That this person, right, knew that here's a person who's really making that extra effort for me, really wants that success for me, right, wants to navigate that with me. And after that, not a single session where the person came late, not showed up. Even if there was a challenge, I would get adequate time and notice, and something happened. I think kindness can do that.
Something showed up in me while you were talking. Sounds like it also takes courage to be kind. Like to acknowledge it and communicate it takes some courage.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it would have been easy to do the other thing, right? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I think it brings out those sides of you, right? Are you willing to go to places that you don't want to go to? And I think if there's one thing that the pandemic definitely taught me was, you know, that's such a powerful thing, this thing about simply being kind to others. You don't have to do anything else. It doesn't mean you're fighting their battles. It doesn't mean you're sort of doing things for them. It just means, you know, like Claudia said, just sort of giving the message that I'm there.
Yes, Vijay and Cindy. And can you hear me properly? Yeah. And what came up for me while you were talking is that actually coaching, you know, this opportunity for me is the best opportunity to be kind, because it is so easy to be kind there. Because life around us, when we're not, you know, coaching, has a lot of different challenges and different roles and different expectations that people and us have to meet up. And, you know, everything around is going into some purpose, and time is running, and this and that. And in coaching, I think, you know, in coaching, it's really all about your client, and the client decides about everything. And there you can really be kind. I think you can afford kindness in any aspect, because you don't have to. You're not limited by anything. you know?
Yeah. It's like a human being quality, right? It's, yeah. And it allows us to stand quietly or still for a moment. Fiji, something there on your mind?
Just again with the chat box, there are a couple of comments here, and I want to pick two of them in specific. Mangai has written that kindness is also being radically candor, be authentic, and being vulnerable. And what struck my attention was, radical candor. And also, I think there was a comment from Jennifer that kindness could mean different things for the client. So some folks have trouble trusting someone who's just all hearts and flowers. So while this struck me, the question playing on my mind is kindness, something that the coach does the way they perceive it, or does the kindness needle shift on who the receiver is? Right? I mean, does your client type or does your client's context determine how you're going to show up with kindness as a coach? That was what was playing in my mind.
That's a really interesting point, Viji, because I sometimes feel, people are very different, of course, and sometimes I'm not sure whether I as the coach and my client, are we on the same page about this, So yes, it can be perceived differently and it can be felt differently. So I, as a coach, I go with, I just go with what, for me, it comes out naturally. I am intentionally kind, but I just do it as I know how to do it. I can't do it any other way. That's me.
It's quite authentic. Yeah.
Cindy, you said something?
Yeah, it's quite authentic. It just shows up in that moment as not in a learned skill, but more in the value that you're adding, jointly, yourself and the other, that connection point.
Yeah, now that you're saying this, it's actually, to me, it comes out of this connection that I feel to everybody, all the human beings, and our world, our planet, our materia. We're made of the same thing. That's where it actually comes from. And coming from this, there's no wrong or right. There is no bad. We just accept each other and understand that we are all different but the same, and that no one is better than the other. And that's where, kindness, that's where I source kindness from.
Just want to build on that, Claudia. To me, I think the word that's playing right now in my mind is, I think being kind is just being human. Right? And sometimes it's just not easy to be human because of all our conditioning and everything else. I feel sometimes the roles we undertake, like, hey, I'm a coach, I'm a doctor, I'm so-and-so, sometimes decide and, kind of hold us back from being very human. And I think for me, and like what Cindy said early on, right? there are some things you need to remind yourself. And like I said earlier, the pandemic did remind me that it was so important for me to be kind as a coach. Well, I may have been, may not have been, but I think it was important to remind yourself, because sometimes you forget, or sometimes you are so worried by, all the do's and don'ts, that you choose, or you hold yourself from being simply human. Again, I want to share an example. Cindy, may I, if time permits?
Yeah.
So I remember way back, when I was early days of, I think, becoming a coach. One of the classic examples we would be taught is, if a client breaks down in a session or a client cries, right? As a coach, all you need to do is pick a tissue, and those were the days of face-to-face coaching, right? I always used to wonder how we do that on a Zoom call, but you pick a tissue and offer it to the client, and you back off, right? For some reason that never sat well with me, but it took me a very long time to figure out what did not sit well with me, right? And I was just hoping against hope that my client wouldn't cry during my recording, or when I was being observed, because I would definitely not pick up a tissue and hand it over to the client. Right. The point I'm trying to say is, I know the classic coaching textbooks tell you that you don't cross that line, you don't get into the client's space, you give them that space, you honor that, you allow them to process their own emotions, etc., etc. But I ask myself, if, let's say, a family member or your best friend, or somebody you cared for was sitting across, having coffee and cried, would you do the same thing? And so why must we behave so differently as coaches? I mean, I get it, going to the other extreme and sort of, either moralizing to them or telling them, or, asking them stuff, right? May not be required, but you don't have to play by a rule book in these moments that call you to be human, right? So I think it's just about that authentic presence. And again, in one of, Cindy, I've shared this with you some time back, that, in one of my sessions, a client who is absolutely not, and, had not been remotely even close to the emotional kind, right? Or would have, was very much in a headspace, and that would be the learning style and everything. When this person broke down on Zoom, right? First of all, it was a shock to me. Well, I didn't know how to deal with it. Then I kind of just, centered myself first, right? And obviously there was no tissue to hand over, nor could I do anything. I imagine, right? I mean, in their most vulnerable, naked moments, there's somebody else sitting there watching you cry, right? So finally, I just said, I just said something like, "You okay?" And that's it. And that was it. And, I don't know what that did. And I didn't even think about it, right? It just seemed like the most authentic thing to be and tell without intruding into their space. So they took their time, 5-7 minutes, didn't go to the washroom, didn't do anything, just sort of said, let's move ahead. I needed this. So I think sometimes you just got to go beyond certain, scripts that keep playing when you're a professional, and you're doing your duty, and do what you need to.
That's a very good point to raise with everyone, sorry, Claudia.
No, Cindy, go.
Oh, you go ahead, Claudia, then I'll raise that point. You go ahead.
Yeah, Vijay, while you were talking about this, when you break, when you start crying in a session, or when you break, and you're witness to that, I have found that, throughout the years, I started with feeling very uncomfortable with this. I wouldn't know, I was embarrassed. and I felt bad because it happened, and I felt bad for the client, and I felt bad, you know, it was all a weird situation. And then with years, I finally understood and felt that being kind to others is so much connected with being able to be kind to ourselves as well. Because when I started learning, I'm still not there yet as I would like to be. But when I started learning to be kind to myself, to be compassionate with myself, you know, then I have learned to be there with the client and to be able to stand and just be compassionate and not feel awkward and not feel bad and not feel, you know, just relax and be. But it was first I needed to learn how to be compassionate and how to feel that for myself.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Claudia. And I wanted to say this. I'm going to have to say a little bit more to see what I'm about to. But in listening to your recordings and watching your videos with clients, kindness shows up all over you. I mean, you know, when I put on my feet and watch you coach, it's like kindness is just there. It shines out from inside you. It's really a beautiful space to watch and to be in. I mean, I feel like I'm in it. Coaches or participants, this is a point I want to raise. We're exactly in it from what we just shared and Claudia shared. Did you have uncomfortable moments when you thought you were crossing the line? When you were being maybe too kind to the client? Or wondered about that? Did I do a bit too much here with my client? Did you ever feel that way and wonder about it? I remember in my early days where, you know, you get this biases and deceptions about how you need to show up as a professional coach. And sometimes there is this disalignment between who you really are and the coach, you know, on certain points, not everything, certain points. And I recall once in a company when I was coaching, the client started crying. And my natural instinct kicked in and did all the tissue thing and water. And more than that, I just got up and gave her a hug. And I thought, okay, even now I feel better about this, you know. And said to her, let's take a walk outside in the gardens, the company gardens. And we walked a bit, came back inside and made tea and sat down again. And I asked her if she wanted to continue. And she said, of course, this is my safe space. I want to continue coaching. And we spoke about, you know, what happened in the tears, with the tears and continued. But that sat with me for so long, wondering whether I crossed the line. Yeah, should I have done that? And it took me years, like you, Claudia, to figure out what safety in coaching was all about, the trust and safety. And a good point also is how to be kind to ourselves as you are raising, yeah? So, you know, coaches, I'd like to invite you also in that space. Did you ever feel that or wonder about that if you cross the line with kindness or compassion? I mean, and also, you know, when I say cross the line, each one of us have a different kind of perception in how we hold that. Some people are quite confident, you know, they would easily just get up and hug the client and be okay with it. Some of us wonder about it. So, in the last few minutes to go, I think we must raise this point. How can we as coaches be kind to ourselves? Yeah. Because we want to give off a lot, and we do. We want to always be there for our clients, be there for our families. You know, COVID has put us in a different space. We want to be there for a lot more. And kindness for ourselves goes right at the bottom of that list. And by the smile on your face, Vijay, I can hear some thoughts there.
You're right. So I'm gonna throw this question right to everyone here. This is an example, and goes back to the crossing the line, and then sort of also looking at what's kindness to ourselves. And yeah, sorry, I'm going again back to the peak of the pandemic. You know, especially in India, where we had a terrible second wave, and you know, there was very difficult times. I once had I had one of my clients who, you know, how do I say this? It was like loss after loss after loss, right? Every you know, every time they would try to stand up, they'd get knocked down and back on their knees again. Yeah. So obviously, coaching, which had nothing to do with any of these goals. Yeah, I mean, who imagined the pandemic would come and throw the biggest goal of survival to everyone, right? We just could not progress with that direction, right? Sessions kept getting postponed, not unprofessionally, all with due notice, right? I mean, loss of a loved one, loss of something else, a terrible attack of COVID. So much so that an engagement that should have completed in 7 to 8 months went on for about 2 years. So to all my fellow coaches and others here on this call today, was I being unkind to myself, unfair to myself as a coach? Obviously, I did not bill for it, right? It was one of those arrangements which, you know, which was a post-session billing. Obviously, I had blocked time off for this person. And, you know, we went on for 2 years. And those sessions did not happen. I was always there around in the space, right? I mean, I have that arrangement with my clients. You know, I'm around. So small check-ins, you know, just sort of being in touch, all that was happening. I remember one reflective session with myself, you know, reflective practice, where I said, you know, was this okay? Right? Normally, I wouldn't have done something like that. I would have challenged the client. I would have challenged their commitment. I would have said, what's going on? You know, do you think you're benefiting from coaching and stuff like that, right? Some introspective. I didn't know any of that. To me, it just seemed like the most natural thing, because when people were surviving and fighting for their lives and livelihood, you know, where does coaching fit into all that, right? It's a good to have. It's not existential. So I did that. So I don't know, Cindy, I mean, was that a line crossed?
I must acknowledge you for that. I must acknowledge you for that, Vijay, because you even showed up starting an organization to help others out during COVID times, you know, to offer support. And it's not that. The thing I want to acknowledge you for is the way you've come across more and more recently, though, with, that's okay. I accept that. That's fine. And you know, you will say this entire reasoning and rationalization and inward, but that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. And that's very powerful, right? And telling that to yourself is very liberating.
Oh yeah. Like I would wait for the end point, you know, what is coming. And first, that's okay. No, that's okay.
But you know, Cindy, the thing that happened, and this is the point, if at all there's like a closing thing that's coming in my mind, is kindness is infectious, right? you allow yourself to be kind to others. Like Claudia said, you've got to first be kind to yourself. And then it has this beautiful way of coming back, making your life light and beautiful and nice, if I may, right? So in this case, right, I slept so well at night. Yeah, I didn't go into supervision with this topic. Let me tell you that, right? Because it just felt too personal for me. But yeah, I felt amazingly good about it, right? So of course there were practical aspects to it, but it's okay.
So the act in that act of paying it forward, kindness is paying it forward. It seems like kindness also has a systemic flow to it. Like, kind to each other, and that person has a positive outlook or something different happens in that person and touches other people around them and so on. So it has a very authentic, natural, systemic flow. And coaches, I hope you're taking, sorry, Claudia, some things away for yourself on how to be kind to yourself, even if it's just got you thinking about it. That's okay, you can build on that. Claudia?
Yeah, you finished so nicely now with these words. I don't want to.
No, go ahead.
I want to let them stay a little bit. Yeah, with this systemic view on the things in coaching, what I try to do is that, I try to take, the kindness that my clients have, because everyone has it in themselves, because it's humanity, as we said, it's human. I try to take that and I try to, I try that they see that understanding other people, just, not judging people, and just being okay with the fact that others are different, and that it's not going to be always the way we want it, and that people are not going to behave the way we want it. Because I do a lot of executive coaching, and just bringing that dimension in, that you can go into another person's shoes, and you just you step into their world, and you see their world with their eyes, brings so much understanding, and it it quiets down all those, yeah, but it has to be like this, and I want this, and so to me this is a really important part, that through coaching, people how would I put it, are kind more often.
I'd like to add on.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you first, Sandy. Sorry, I think you were responding to Claudia.
I want to pull some pieces together from what you said, Claudia said, and what our participants are saying. It seems like kindness is not just language. It's not just in the words we offer to our clients, asking them what's going on. Do you want a tissue? Do you need that? So it's not being just using words in that vulnerable moment. It's far more than that. It's perhaps shows up in your body, in the connection, in this in between silent moments. It's like a total body experience, right? you and client. Go ahead, Vijay.
Yeah, that's something I totally agree with, Cindy, that, you know, actually it's not usually about words. I think it's about deeds, right? You know, and go back to, you know, our early childhood, and, you know, where we didn't know the ways of the world so much, and, you know, we're not that rational, right? And the most generous, loving moments of our lives came from acts, right? That warm hug, that understanding smile, you know, somebody just giving you food when you needed it, things like that, right? So it is usually about deeds. And I think in my own development as a coach, I find that more and more that it's easier sometimes to just do and be, rather than, you know, say through words. So I think that's a beautiful point you've touched on, Cindy. And sometimes, and we know this, right? Sometimes it's the client really being invisible. We discuss this in coaching all the time, right? Sometimes it's all about that invisibility, right? Where you want to just give them that, you don't want to be a pair of prying eyes and ears and, you know, waiting for the next thing to sort of ask the next good question, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's
absolutely.
just about being absent, quietly being by the side. And that takes a lot to do, right? Because we're so trained and wired to pick the next word to say, okay, what was the emotional shift, or, you know, what's happening? Sometimes just being quiet is the best thing you can do. So yeah, but you know, as Claudia was talking about this whole systemic effect, again, I just want to end with one example, right? The movement that you spoke about that we started during the pandemic, that is an amazing community that I'm proud of. We started off by saying, hey, let's be kind to others, right? Let's be there for others. But you know, the beautiful thing, over a period of time, I see a lovely shift, and it was never meant to be that way. That here's a group of really kind coaches, right, who's just so supportive and understanding. And there are coaches of all vintages and, you know, backgrounds and cultural contexts and everything, right? And everybody just being generous, just being, you know, just being very non-judging, just being very giving. So that's where the systemic effect comes, right? You do that for yourself, it shows up in all other parts of your life. And I think that's why it's a great idea for us coaches to seriously consider kindness. And I remember I started off by saying I wrote on this. One of the things, bold statements I made then, and soon after the article was published, I was actually thinking, I actually said that, but I'm going to say that again today because I think I'm very inspired by this conversation. That I think kindness should actually be one of the competencies for a coach. That's what I said then, and I hold that today. With that, I sign off.
I also hold that. I'll fight that for you too. Definitely. It should be worded, right? It should have words there. Yeah. I agree. Claudia? Some closing thoughts?
Yes. Yes, kindness is not something to take for granted, I think. And you cannot be kind all the time. So actually, sometimes it's a luxury, right? I mean, in our world, there are many situations where being kind would you know, to someone else, it would feel like, you know, you're out of your line. So yes, being kind in coaching is the right place and moment to be kind. And being kind to yourself is as well, someone put it so nicely, it's really hard. I mean, there's not a lot of people I know that can be kind to themselves. So, you know, it's hard work, actually. So we've got a lot of work to do still in this aspect.
Absolutely, we're just opening it. Because there's one thing, Claudia, you know, to continue what you're saying, we coaches know how to set boundaries. Agreements is a part of the coaching professionalism, right? We're also good at that. You know, working, establishing, evoking agreements with clients, big picture agreements, in the moment agreements. So we're good at boundaries. And, you know, in our profession, kindness can show up quite easily because we're good with boundaries as coaches. It was a really beautiful conversation, coaches or participants, as you're leaving the call and as we round up, what do you want to take away for yourself in terms of kindness? You know, kindness for self, a random act of kindness for others, kindness in coaching. What do you want to take away for yourself? And Vijay, you and Claudia, your last thoughts.
Yeah, so my last sign-off thought is, you know, kindness need not exclude other things, right? You can still do what you need to. You can still hold people accountable. You can, you know, still honor the coaching partnership. You can still do all of that. Being kind. That's my closing thought.
Excellent.
And I could say that, you know, we as coaches can be ambassadors of kindness.
You know, I want to close with, so I fine combed all the core competencies looking to see where kindness sits. Of course, for this conversation. Of course, we know that it sits mostly with trust and safety. But what I found out was that it sits throughout the core competencies, from the ethics of coaching to mindset throughout, even how, you know, that story you said early on, how the client wants to make progress with their goals, are they showing up or not showing up? So kindness sits throughout coaching competencies in a very authentic way, of course. Coaches, Vijay, Claudia, it was wonderful being with you today. And I hope we can build on this for ourselves. And since June is Kindness Month, may I invite you to do something special to be kind to yourself.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you.
Bye,
Vicky.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy and Claudia. This is such an honor to be in this space. And thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.